Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone to the live episode of the Butterfly Evolution Show coming to you by way of B2G Unity TV. We are better together, and that's what this is about. Coming together on all topics. There is no subject that we cannot touch or will not touch with the right audience, of course. So I am excited about tonight's topic. We've been talking about this kind of off and on for a while, this new relationship energy thing that we have going on, most of us all the time, when we start a new relationship or a new job or get a new car or something like that. So we're going to be talking about that tonight with a thing as it relates to relationships. So that's our topic for tonight. But before bringing them in, I just want to again welcome you guys. Thank you for choosing us on this beautiful Tuesday evening. We have an exciting show for you. I must agree. I've been waiting on this one, and so that I'm glad it's here. I'm going to go ahead and bring them over our housekeeping things. Got to talk about that trash can, baby, and some other things. What give you some information about what we're doing in the future. So I'm going to bring lady in first. No, no pun intended. Nick, going to bring Miss Valerie in. Hi, Valerie. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. Thank you.
That's a good
Hey,
one. That's a
hey,
good
I
one.
know that was good, wasn't it? Wasn't it good? But no pun intended. I did say that now.
That is very true. That is very true.
So it
That's
was,
it.
but she was next in row.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
I mean,
counts.
I would have said ladies first go first.
There you go. There you go.
He's
There
a
you go.
gentleman.
So you guys, I'm excited for a number of reasons. Don't have those, but before allow you guys to introduce yourself, I want to remind the people who may be first time listeners or returning listeners. I got to make sure that I keep doing this because we are here to promote transformation by way of self awareness, being open to change, noticing the need for change, and again, being intentional about that change. So, self awareness, holding yourself accountable for
Mhm.
your life, who you are, where you come from, where you are, and where you're going. We have to free some people in order to free ourselves. So that's what Butterfly Evolution Radio Show is about. We're under now the Better Together TV, Unity TV, B2G, Better Together. And if you don't know that, like we cannot do this thing alone in this world. You can try, we might get there, but at some point you're going to want someone around with that same energy, like-minded people that is in your corner. So that's what Butterfly Evolution is about. And in one way we do this was so helpful to me. It sounds maybe simple and silly to some people, but what we ask you to do is move your trash can. Move a trash can that you use frequently. For me, it's the kitchen because I stay in the kitchen. So it was the kitchen for me. Moving it and then just allowing yourself to be mindful of how often you return to its old location. Valerie, this is something for you and the little one to do at home. If you want to like move it and then have him play games, how many, let him mark it down as to how many times he goes back, and for couples as well. And then when you do that, maybe once a week at the end of the day, talk about it. Why do you think you go back to where you moved it from? And we know we've moved it. And one reason is because we get caught up. We get in remote control, or cruise control, I guess is a better word. In life, we find ourselves doing the same thing, same people, same energy, sometimes just because it's what we know. It's our go to. No matter how difficult it is for us or how much we know we need to change and we want it to change, it is so, sometimes it feels, let me say this, it feels easier just to stay where you are and do what you're doing. All the while, you know you want more and that you deserve more. And that takes action. So that can just be a little silly, simple reminder for you to have those conversations. If no one, with no one else, with yourself, why am I going back to that old place? Why am I staying in this old place knowing I deserve better, more? And you do. You deserve it. You just have to work for it. So that's what the trash can baby is about. Let us know if you move it. Send me a text, message me through Messenger, however you want to do it. But I want to hear your stories. So without further ado, welcome again, Valerie and Nick. New love, new relationship, new energy, and all that stuff going on. So, who is going to take the floor first? Introduce yourself. Tell us how you met.
Valerie,
In your version. In your version.
you can go first. You can go first.
Okay. Well, my name. Okay, give mommy 1 second, honey. I'll change it in a minute. My name is Valerie. I am a San Francisco, California native.
We're kid friendly. Tell them to say hi. That might ease some of the interest.
Do you want to say hi? This is Lennox.
Hi, Lennox.
Hi.
We're kid friendly here.
Who's that?
Hi.
It's Nick.
That's Nick.
Aw.
I want.
Okay.
I don't want.
He's off. He'll be
I
back.
don't want.
So,
I don't want Poco.
actually, Nick, I'm gonna let you go first because I have to
I
change
don't
this
want
show.
Poco.
So, my name is Nick. Obviously, I have known Tammy for a long time and been on the show several times. And me and Tammy have had conversations back and forth just around life in general. Just and she is a treasure, like just in my life. And it's really, it really is, even through all my jokes, and stuff like that. like,
Look, this is where I go.
right. Now, is it okay if you want me to talk about how we met or anything
Oh,
like
yeah, that's right. I thought you was going to say tell a joke. I was like, no.
No. So it's interesting. So it's interesting, like how I will try to say this in a condensed form, but to the point. I will say that first, before meeting Valerie, I had to get really clear within myself. It was a 3-year separation from my old relationship to now, where I utilized that time to effectively look at myself, to look at the reasons of why I was getting the results that I was getting in situations, right? A lot of it was, and Tam, you don't mean to be transparent. A lot of it was due to not following through on my boundaries, having unrealistic expectations, and the whole nine there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So throughout that kind of discovery, I really learned, and through therapy, I learned how to be an advocate for myself. I learned how to not just be an advocate for myself, but I learned how to really stand firm on the things that make a healthy dynamic for me. I wrote some things down of what a healthy dynamic looks like for me. And throughout this, with God, with prayer and things like that, and actually kind of meeting people and things like that, this is over, 3-year span. Sometime in late summer, so I run a lot, obviously. And so sometime during late summer, it's interesting because I had saw Valerie, but I didn't really introduce myself because, like, whenever I'm running, usually I go and I'm Nick. But in this particular run, I was focused, I was focused, right? So I saw her, and then in my mind, I'm like, man, she's really attractive, blah, 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 all that jazz, right? So then, throughout the course, somebody found me on IG. And this person was trying to get me she's like, what she told me was that this guy looks like he takes care of himself really well, right? So, she, approached me about health and wellness and things like that. And we kind of had a dialogue about that. And then, so this was in maybe September of 2022? Yeah, September, right? So then one question I asked her that I think kind of just was kind of sparking out. I would ask her, what is your intentions for the week? I would ask her on Sunday. I was like, what is your intentions for the week? And so she was kind of she kind of told me she was like, wow, that's very great question, something for me to think about, things like that, right? So one particular October, or very early October, I had asked her, was she gonna go for like any exercises or for a run? Because at this point, I'm like, I'm ready to get the number. I'm really trying to get to know you. You know, at this point, I'm like that, right? So I met her and Lennox at this park in Nashville, and I kind of went ahead and started early and ran and things like that. And then when I met up with her, we talked, blah, 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 and then I got her number. I was like, yes, on the inside, because I said, I knew once I got her number, I was good. I'm just going to be me, right? So throughout the course of like having conversations, and it just was the conversations were just different. And when I say different, it was very safe. It was very authentic. It was organic. Nothing felt forced. Nothing felt. It just was natural. And you know, and then I really looked intently at Valerie as a person, and she's the most kind, giving, considerate, generous, magnanimous. She's all of those. She exhibits all of those things. This is way before the relationship. She exhibits all of those things, right? Not just to me, but to everybody that she is around, right? That to me was huge, because it's one thing to treat your person, love interest or whatever that way, but to treat everyone else that's like that to me was like, wow, this is who she is, right? So in the midst of that week in flat, so I had went to New York with my mom in kind of like middle October, things like that. And I was thinking about Valerie the entire time, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, and to me that was like the thing there. And then I had kind of told her, I was like, when I get back from New York, I would love to take you to like breakfast and stuff like that. And in my mind, I'm like, I am courting this girl. This is in my mind. This is my mind. I'm telling her that, right? And so she was like, yeah, that sounds really great, stuff like that. I was like, yippee. So like in my mind, right? So fast forward to like early November, we kind of went on our official first date.
Early November?
Yes.
November. Okay.
Yeah. So we went on our first date. Keep in mind, we've had conversations. We would talk frequently. I mean, at this point, we're almost talking every day, just about, right? And our first date, I will say that this is when I was like, wow, because we both were in alignment with so much on life. We talked about like, you want to be married, you want to have children. Do you want to? I'm talking about when I literally say the most important things that people tiptoe around the tulips on. We ironed that stuff out
On the first date.
The first date, yeah.
Okay.
First date.
So this wasn't done over the phone.
No,
a little bit maybe, but in depth.
Yeah,
person, eye to eye.
Eye to eye.
Okay.
And it was very refreshing. I remember leaving from there when we went to two different spots. And I remember leaving, I think it was around a little bit after midnight, if I'm not mistaken.
And so the first day, y'all were two different spots?
Yeah, we went to get something to eat, and then we went somewhere else to play like the arcade and stuff like that, right? To catch up even more, right? So as we're talking about life and what's important for us, not only just important for us, I said, wow, this person is in complete alignment with where I'm at with life, where I'm trying to go in life and things like that, right? So,
okay, Nick, let me stop you for a second. Mm-hmm. You mentioned earlier that you had this list before Valerie. You had this list of what healthy dating looked like to you.
Yes.
Did you find yourself checking off the list? In your mind, in your heart. Yep. Did you visualize that list? Okay. Yep. Okay.
Because it's really easy for me at this stage of my life to know the things that is healthy for me and not healthy for me. So I'm very clear and very direct with the energy that I allow into my life. And so I'm extremely clear with that. So I remember like after we left, so like that, I was like, oh my gosh. I called my mom. I was like, Mom, I just had the most amazing date. I literally called my mom afterwards and told her how much fun I had with Valerie and all of that. And kind of throughout talking every day and really getting to what does a relationship look like for us. We literally define boundaries. We talked about that. We talked about non-negotiables. We literally talked about the most important things that people fail to do, and something I have failed to do. Let me phrase that. Something I have failed to do in previous relationships early on. And the reason why I say you want to know those stuff early on is that we're at this place in space now. I'm mid-30s, Valerie's mid-30s. Sorry, man, I didn't mean to put your age out there. But we don't have time to waste, right? And I think dating with intention and dating with purpose, you can soberly see, and when you're clear within yourself, then you can soberly see interactions with other people and what feels good for you in a healthy way and what doesn't feel good in a healthy way. And lastly, I will just say, when it comes to Valerie, like one thing, I mean, there's many things that I can say. I mean, I can go 3 hours talking about Valerie. I literally can. But our values are just there, are in alignment directionally where we want to go in life is spot on. Our communication style, the way that we communicate, is both is in alignment. If there's something that's on her mind, I tell her all the time, babe, I want you. I don't even say I want you. I need you to be able to have the ability to have a voice. That is very important. So our communication styles. But this was the kicker here, and this is my last one, I promise. I told her that not only do for us to mirror a healthy relationship, but she has a 3-year-old, and I want Lennox to see what a healthy dynamic looks like. What does protection look like? What does the essential component, safety, the provision, the most important things that that I can give to Valerie is going to be her son is going to see that. So when it goes to the store, opening the door for her. When it comes to walking on the side of the street, make sure that I protect her. All of that. He's seeing all of that. So I often say that I had to pour so much in my cup. I have so much in my cup that Valerie and Lennox are just over. They're literally getting the overflow of how much I put in my cup, basically.
So we're gonna give Valerie her moment, but I'm gonna come back. I've been writing some things down. We do have some comments. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Cuz, for listening. She said, "How did you end up with her phone?" But I think she may have come in on the end part. I think you were saying you had her phone number now, right?
Yes. Yes.
So yes, he had her phone number. And she says, "Was Valerie showing you or giving vibes of interest?"
I will say yes, and I think initially she was trying to get me on the health and wellness tip. That was the first inkling. She's like, okay, this guy, he takes care of himself. But I think throughout the time,
I don't know about that. I want to hear from Valerie because y'all, I tried to go back and find the messages because, like Nick said, we go way, way, way back. But Nick was like, "Miss Tammy, I need to talk to you. I met this girl." I am not lying. And I think we've probably spent almost an hour on the phone.
Yes, that is very
talking
true.
about this young lad. Like he was over the top. With interest. And when I heard the story, so it's going to be interesting to hear Valerie's side of it, of the introduction or how they met. Because when I heard, I thought, oh yeah, she was eyeing you. She it wasn't just about running. So Valerie, tell us, were you interested beyond the running initially? Did you just go ahead and say, hey, I'm gonna make this move because I don't know what this brother is doing?
This is so funny. Okay, so I met Nick through a mutual friend of ours. She was first his friend. She runs in my running group in Nashville and also runs in Franklin and lives in Franklin. So in the midst of talking to her about her health and fitness journey, aside from everything, disclaimer, I am, along with being a teacher at my son's daycare, I'm a health and wellness coach for Herbalife Nutrition. So I'm talking to our mutual friend, and she told me, like, yes, I've been using a nutrition. So I'm always looking for people who are on their journey, want to be on their journey. So I come across Nick's page and I see that he's into health and fitness. I will say initially just seeing him, I had never seen him before. I didn't know that we had previously ran together in my running group. He saw me several weeks before I friended him on Instagram. And we ran the same course that evening and I had no clue. He was in the zone, I was in the zone. And like he said, he saw me, but I didn't see him. So initially when I saw Nick on Instagram,
she was mesmerized.
I'm totally mesmerized now. I am Team Nick all day. Everything.
Y'all know, sorry, but do you guys know you are really putting a lot on yourselves? Because let me just for a minute, let me just jump in because new relationship energy, we know, all of us know about it because you've heard me, Nick, say that we are capable of starting so well in relationships. It's, oh baby, yes. Oh, you want to go see your mama? Yes, let's go see your mama. You want to eat burgers? Yes. I might want chicken, have wanted it all week, but we're going to eat those burgers. So we start well. Now let me say this. I do believe that we are capable of being in amidst the relationships just like we start them. It just takes work. And based on what we see, that new relationship energy tends to die down, or maybe we should say people tend to die down. And so as you were saying, Nick, you open the door, you do this. Ladies, how many men have started out like that, like open the door, go whatever. So I hope you keep that up. I really do. I don't know if it will matter much to Valerie, but I think how you start is how you start, and you should be consistent in that, because if that's something that I like you for, that I like that you allow me to get in the car first and make sure that I'm safe. And if you feel like that's what you should do when you meet me, baby, when you love me, like you get in the car and you crawl over me to make sure I'm protected. Just so that I think it should always get greater. Because if you love me, like I used to tell Brandon, no, you take her to the park, Taco Bell, somewhere until she becomes your girl. Or she is potential. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying you can't ever treat. So I'm just saying we're gonna be watching y'all.
Oh,
come on and watch.
Come on, watch. Holding both of you accountable.
Yes, we hold each other. That's another thing too. I'm sorry, Valerie. Keep going because you got your story. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So we're gonna be here for a while because I got some stuff to say. Miss Tammy, I didn't heard about you. So but no, so initially when I saw Nick, my mind was like laser focused. I'm just like, my mission is to help as many people as I can with their health and fitness goals. I was just there. I didn't really think about an attraction. Oh, is this somebody I'm interested in? Let me try to pursue something. I'm just, I'm working on talking to people, seeing where they are, seeing if I can be of service. And from there, an initial genuine conversation came about where we kind of talked about health and fitness. He really, kind of showed a genuine interest in what it is I do as a health and wellness coach. I'm multitasking here. He showed a genuine interest in what it is that I do. And then from there, we just talked about, some of the things personally going on with us as far as our health and fitness. And then the Sunday messages started rolling in with, what are your intentions for the week? And I was just like, wow, like it really, that kind of like sparked my interest. And I was like, wow, what are my intentions? And then we just started with that. Every Sunday he would ask me what my intentions were. And then I started to look forward to that. I said, well, okay. And he gave me his number. I don't know, because my audio went out, so I don't know if he mentioned this, but he gave me his number on IG. He's like, oh, here's my number. You can put it in the phone. Sometimes social media is, is kind of here and there. So if you ever want to call, and I just kind of brushed over it.
Let me hold it.
Okay, you can hold it. I just kind of brushed over it. I was like, well, if I need to reach him, we have IG. And I'll probably kind of touch on this later. I guess.
Nick, are you saying it didn't happen like that?
No, it did happen like that. I'm just shaking my head because this is how she knows she's dealing with a grown man, because a grown man ain't gonna go back and forth on IG with you. A grown man is gonna want to have a conversation with you and all that. That's the difference.
So let me ask you guys this. Have you had your first disagreement or challenging? Have you had a thing?
I don't know if we necessarily had a thing yet. One of the things we kind of talked about early on was how would we disagree?
Well, so that was one of the questions.
We talked about early on how would we disagree, and one of the things that I brought to her was that I mentioned to Valerie how important that it was that we both make sure that we're on the same page. And so, like, one of the things that I kind of told her was how important it was for me to listen to her, validate how she feels. Also, I will hear how she feels, or she hear how I feel, and then we meet in the middle. And then, because I said that, like, she's a very calm, very.
Have you had to meet in the middle? Have you had something that you've had to meet in the middle about?
Have we had something we had to meet in the middle? Maybe something if we're gonna go.
You have to ask, then no.
Like if it's something that we're gonna go for a restaurant or something like that, like, I may say we have.
Our biggest disagreement has been like iPhone versus Android.
But if it's like a major, here's why I say it's easy to disagree if I did have a disagreement with her, because it goes back to who she is as a person, and she's a very nurturing person. So it's kind of like, and she knows about me. She knows, like, I really want to know the things that make her feel. I want her to voice how she feels. And I often say that, like, and I even showed Valerie. No, I am not kidding when I say this. I literally showed Valerie in my little journal in here all the stuff that makes a healthy dynamic. And this includes communication as well, too. And I told her I've never shown that to anybody.
So you showed her your list.
I showed her those things that over the course of the years I have been writing down.
And you guys, your first date was in November. So we got November, December, all of January. So we'll just say three months that you've been dating.
Yep.
Valerie, did you have a list or kind of this idea of what? And then I'm going to read some of the comments. This idea of what your next guy would be. How?
So I told Nick, okay, let me, here, you take it.
I will take it.
You take it. So I told Nick, October of 2021, I went to an all-night women's prayer, and it was from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And at the end of the night, they gave us an envelope with a folded piece of paper to basically write a prayer, a note to God of things that we were thanking him for in advance. So my letter had a series of things in it, from, financial stability, family things being worked out. And there was a portion where I said, the type of man that I was praying for. And I said, Lord, please send me a man that loves you and loves himself. I want a relationship that'll bring glory to your name. I was very specific in what I wrote down. And I think I wrote a couple of other things, but the assignment was to seal this letter and not to open it until the next following year on that date. So in the midst of that, I met Nick at the beginning of September, where I had approached him online, but mind you, he saw me in August. And then we had started our kind of, I guess, pre-relationship, just getting to know each other, friendship, I guess you would say. And then through the course of that time, I had a trip to North Carolina for my business. I was in Georgia, and through us building this friendship, Nick was there right along for the whole ride. And we hadn't had our first date yet. So I come back, I think it's from North Carolina or Atlanta, and I opened the letter a day after I was supposed to open it. And we were still very much in like the friend zone. But I had mentioned him to my co-teacher.
Mommy.
I was just like, oh, there's this guy that I met and he's just so sweet. And she's just like, oh, I like Nick. He sounds like a good guy.
So how long was it into the relationship that you started to think this way?
This was after our phone conversations. So maybe I wouldn't even say a month. I would say between a week and 2 weeks. Okay. What would you like, Lennox?
So I'll read the comments and then you can kind of attend to Lennox while we're doing it. And then we'll come back. So Titus, thank you for listening. This is good information. Thank you. Thank you. Cynthia said right. And I think she was saying right to my comments about we've all been there in the new relationship. And so we will be very honest in saying, okay, just wait and let's see how y'all handle it. I'm going to give you a thumbs up because I think you're being intentional. You have to be intentional and consistent. I love what Valerie said about I prayed for a man who loves you, God, who loves himself, because it's so important, you guys. Hear me, hear me, hear me. Until you love yourself, there ain't nothing you can do for anybody. Not loving who you are or yourself jeopardizes your relationship with the Creator itself, period. And so if you don't start there, everything you touch, you might win a little here and there, but as far as consistency, being able to be intentional, and as far as loving me or your mate or someone else, you can't do it. And rarely will I say can't. It ain't gonna happen, period, until you love yourself. And we really have to do a reality check to determine, do I really love me? How do I treat myself? How do I allow people to treat me, no matter who they are or what they are to you? What do you allow? And I'm not saying you got to be this hothead, always trying to be right or make yourself seen or known, because sometimes you just have to know when to be quiet and walk away. Close the door or leave it open and let them close it. Whatever. But I love how she said that. I'm looking for a man who loves you, God, loves himself. Ladies, we all need to have that 6 a.m. 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. prayer night. And a relationship that glorifies your name. I love that. So let's see. Cynthia said yes, cuz let's see, make sure we got Cynthia again said yes, that's it. Very well said. So thank you guys. Keep the comments coming. If you have a question for them, I have some, but if you have a question for them, please put it in the comments or send me a message through Messenger.
And I think too, Miss Tammy, one of the things that as we discuss, making sure that we're on the same page when it comes to life, directionally, where do we, and this all goes back with dating and being in a relationship with purpose and intentionality, right? Because both of us have that at our core, right? One of the things that we talked about early on, we was like, okay, like here we see this journey together, and we was like, hey, when we talk about the journey there, it doesn't feel, oh my gosh, at all. We even talked about doing couples counseling together, not because anything is wrong, but making sure that we are, I'm going to use a phrase Valerie says all the time. She said, bettering your best, right? And so we come at it from the aspect of bettering our best, not only individually, but collectively. And I tell her all the time, like, when it comes to that regard, I tell her, like, I always want to make sure that I am on the same page and same team as you. I would rather be your teammate and desire, and we grow to be Michael and Scotty, and winning
Mhm.
championships together. My success is your success, and your success is my success. And going through life and navigating through life. And I often say that one of the most this is also kind of how I knew I was dealing with the right person as well too. One of our first initial conversations was around, we had somewhere during November, and of course November is a really tough, challenging time for me because of my dad. He passed around that time. Well, one of our first conversations on the phone, Valerie was very, transparent about she lost a niece during around the same time frame as like when I lost my dad. So we kind of just talked about just being. I'm talking about that was literally one of the first conversations we had on the phone, and it was so safe. It was just so safe to just be. It was just so,
Nick,
yes.
let me stop you for a second because my next question was going to be about what you said. The conversation felt different. Safe was my go-to word because rarely do we hear, not often, and maybe it's just in my world, talk about the need to feel safe in
Mhm.
just a conversation with a woman. And I was going to ask you to explain what you meant by that. I took it as sometimes when you're able to, and now hearing the conversation, that men often feel like they have to be always on the up emotional or feel emotional about things, and that
Mhm.
I want you to explain it. Just I don't want to put the words in your mouth. What do you
Yeah.
mean when you said different, safe, organic, natural, not forced?
Yes, I will say that it felt, when I say safe, it was almost kind of like I can express myself, and it's almost kind of like, here's this hug for you. It's okay for you to feel how you feel, and being able to express that was just it was very refreshing for me. I guess that's the word there. When I say organic, I have to be honest. I used to be one of those guys who would feel like, and this is why I say every connection that you have with people is different. But I had to realize that when I got clear within myself to know what it is that I find healthy, what it is that's a healthy, and being able to be direct and communicate with that, it was an effortless flow. And the reason why it was an effortless and organic was because we are so much in alignment with one another. And when you're in alignment, like true alignment with someone, not only from a spiritual aspect, but from a mental aspect, from an emotional aspect, it is scary. It's scary in a good way. Not like, oh my gosh, it scares me. I feel very blessed and fortunate to be able to share life with someone
Mhm.
who directionally we're going in the same place, and not even just going there physically but mentally. Someone who values accountability, someone who values personal responsibility, someone who's just,
Mhm.
it's a human being, a healthy whole human being. So two healthy and whole human beings who have done the work, continue to do the work, coming together, that to me was just like, wow, this is all God here, because I'm telling you, that's what it was. This is all God here.
So, Valerie, do you need to jump in? Do you have anything?
Yes, well, I kind of wanted to go back to where I was to kind of get caught up, because I could go off on 72 tangents. But just backing back to where we were as far as the start from my point of view. So we eventually, I tell Nick that I'm going to run at Shelby Bottoms on a Saturday. So then he comes. This is after he gave me his number online and I didn't use it. And like he said, she's dealing with a grown man, blah, 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 blah. So I tell him one Saturday that I'm going for a run at Shelby Bottoms. He ends up coming. And as I'm about to start my run, he's finishing his. And we just had a quick little moment where we talked. He said hi to Lennox, and He's like, oh yeah, you should take down my number. It was very like chill and nonchalant. It wasn't like he was imposing. I didn't feel uncomfortable. I was like, oh, okay. So then he later told me like, once I got your number, then it was on from there. So he goes on his trip to New York. We're kind of messaging back and forth while he's on his trip, and he's sharing the experience and, about him taking his mom for the first time. Just very good, genuine interaction. And then he gets back and we just start having these very regular conversations every week. And I think one of the first things I noticed about him was his like just intentionality and like his level of commitment. When he said he was going to do something, he was going to do it. And also being sensitive to the fact that I do have a 3-year-old. So like my schedule could be hit or miss sometimes. So just being flexible, with that, like I'm going to call you Thursday between 7 and 8. Is that okay? And, he's very like huge on, consent, like you having a say so and, being in control of different things. So yeah, we just started these conversations. So on top of him asking me about my intentions for the week, I think at the end of one of our phone calls, he's just like, is it okay if I pray for you? I'm like, yes, you can pray for me, sir. Absolutely. So that
you had two big questions, because one of them was, what are your intentions? And you said that was like the word intentions. I mean, if people just really think about it, when have you dated someone that asks you about your intentions? So I think that's a big thing. And now, can I pray for you? And some people will hear that and think, because it's just the world, he's running game. Some people really hear you say that, and even women will sometimes think, okay, yeah, right, you running game, because that's just how the world is. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I just, thinking about it overall, just the level of what he exudes is because he's so able to freely give these things to himself. So asking me what my intentions are is informed because he is a very intentional person and intentions drive his life. Asking to pray for me is not something shorthanded or him trying to reach, because that is something, that he has readily available. He taps into that power. So just, I think the intentionality of the person that he is and how he pours into himself, it wasn't hard for him to extend that to me. And we kind of agreed that he was the person that kind of felt it before I did, as far as like, oh yeah, this girl, I really am seeing something here. And I think I was like maybe 3.5, 4 steps behind him. But if like you talk to some of my close friends, and even 15 seconds after, like I was calling my mom, my dad, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is a little down the line. I met this amazing man. Like, this is going to be my husband. Like, when you hear about all of these things happening, just know you heard it here first. And my mom was like, oh my goodness, I've never heard like you talk about anybody like this before. One of my best friends was like, oh, it takes a special kind of man to make an Aquarius woman gush like this, because you are just, I've never seen this side of you before. But I mean, from there, things just happened authentically. They didn't feel
forced.
Weird. It didn't feel forced. It felt completely genuine. It felt natural. And I think because of the journeys and all of the self-work that we've done on ourselves, all of the prayers, all of the conversations with God, literally once I closed the door, God was like, well, I was waiting for you to do that because I had this amazing thing for you, but you weren't ready for it until you were totally able to focus your eyes, to let my will align for your life. Because we know that, for anyone who believes in God, like he has a perfect will for our life, but we have to be willing to let go of how we think things should be done And I think about that in relation to meeting Nick and how things are literally aligning and it's easy. And I know that we'll have things, like every relationship has things and will have things, but just at its core of what we have in the foundation, I'm just like, this is nobody but God, because it's not us. You know, we are human, we are flawed, we make mistakes, we fall short, but because of his grace and his mercy, you know, we're able to be renewed, and to have somebody that is in that alignment and has that understanding, you know, it makes it a little bit easier to walk this journey. And one of the main things that Nick says is that safety aspect. I feel 100% completely safe with this man. Like, there was an instance, and he knows this, where I had a situation and it brought me to tears. And out of all of the people I could have called, this was before we officially like deemed ourselves in a relationship. He was the person I called, you know, and I was already crying before I got on the phone. And he said, wow, for you to have had this situation that you felt unsafe in, you felt safe enough to call me. And he is definitely a place of peace for me. Definitely someone that I can depend on and rely on. Someone that will very frequently give me boyfriend Nick and friend Nick. And he's just always like, you know, which one?
Explain that.
Okay. So boyfriend versus friend Nick. At my core, I'm always going to be Valerie's friend. What I mean by that is when I deliver certain messages, right? When I'm boyfriend Nick, I'm good. I'm very aware that I can be truthful with tact. Not saying I can't do that as a friend, but it's a little bit more. I'm not saying that it's not loving. It's a loving response. However, here's an example. Valerie tells me something. Friend Nick is gonna say, "Oh, this is effed up. This is messed up all the way from the floor to the ceiling. This is effed up." Boyfriend Nick would be like, "Oh, well, you know, I get it. We all go through certain seasons in life and stuff like that, and things like that." So knowing how to balance them both, but still with Valerie, when it comes to treating her, the reason why I treat her the way that I do is, one, there's a complete appreciation for her. Two is at our core, we're growing as best friends. So I'm gonna treat my best friend like in this way. So it's much easy for me to know how to treat her, because I will treat her as if it's someone else, with the exception of that we have the romantic pieces there. That's all.
So let me ask you guys this. How I know things happen.
Yep.
And I know people, like, I got people in my inbox now just kind of calling this thing a thing, meaning okay, just give it some time, whatever. They, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
How sure are you? We get it. Things happen. And I think what people misinterpret, I think what some people may be missing here is your growth.
Mm.
Do you, before I ask this question, 3 years ago, a year ago, do you think that the connection would be what it is today a year ago?
For me, maybe a year ago, yes.
2, 3. So, and I like what you're talking about, alignment, because the one thing, no relationship is perfect, you guys. Let's say this. What I want everyone, one thing, many things, take what you want, but we are failing at, and I'm going to say this again. If you could show up in the beginning with this better version of yourself, you can do it.
Yep.
You are doing it in the beginning because you are being intentional, because it is a new relationship. So let's stop treating the people that we want to be with and love like that new car. You know, you wash that new car, almost wash the paint off of it, brush your feet off before you get in it, don't eat in it. 6 months down the road, whatever. Maybe not badly. And then new job. Think about it. I'm
Yeah.
excited. I got this new job. It's this. And then after you're in there a while, you realize, well, management and they don't do this, they don't do that, and it grows stale. But we're
Mhm.
not dealing with a job and a car. We're dealing with people. We're dealing with hearts. We're dealing
Mhm.
with lives. It's not just about Valerie. It's about Valerie's son. Like you said, we are teaching the ones that are coming up. So we have to be intentional about, especially I would say older people. Like, let's not put down young people when they want to be intentional about love and leave a legacy of
Yeah.
not just mess, but a family. And families are not perfect, and people are not perfect, and people get a chance to grow and know what they want from
Yeah.
themselves, out of life, and in a relationship.
Yeah.
And once you get that
Yeah.
and you have that list and
Yeah.
it's within you, you know it when you see it.
Yeah, that is so true. Because I tell Valerie all the time, like every day, like we talk about. A lot of times, Valerie will text me throughout the day, and she'll say, "Hey, what brought you joy for today?" Right? And I tell her it's simple, but it's so effective. And it's breathing, because I say that if simple breathing for me means that I have an opportunity and another chance, right? So with the ability to breathe, I have another ability to love. I have another the ability to be better. I have the ability to just be what God intended me to be, right? So I always tell her about maximizing what God has given us, right?
Mhm.
And I think like every day I wake up, literally, she'll tell you this. Wake up every day and and outside of praying and stuff like that, I'm like, what acts of love? And I know her love languages. So we know each other's love languages. We discuss all
Did
of
you
that.
guys ask questions of each other?
What's that now?
Did you guys ask each other
Yeah,
about, okay.
yeah. So when I mean to say literally the most important things of what makes a relationship go, we discuss them. So I think like the thing was that um again, like just how effortless our communication is like if she has had a really tough day and stuff like that, I can instinctively read it before she doesn't even have to say a word, and I'm like, babe, I got it. And so I think
How do you know that? Like, how are you able to, and I know I want to ask the question, but
yeah.
how are you able to see that the day has not been as she had hoped it would be, which is normal. So how
Yeah.
are you able to see that?
It's more of an instinctive thing. I know Val when I'm gonna use this analogy. When Val is at 100% on the iPhone, I'm just gonna use like at 100%. I know what that energy is. When that
Okay.
energy is at 50%, I know what that is. When that energy is at 20, I know what that is. So then I go into it not even having to tell her. I just be like, she can just tell me something. I'm like, ooh, I can see how this feels. So then what I do is as I wake up and pray every morning, I ask, how can I pour love into Valerie today? That is an everyday thing. And I think you have to literally take it a day at a time. You literally do. But my acts, and I tell her that I appreciate her daily. I give her love daily. And it's like, and that's rooted in praying to God first, take care of what I got to take care of, work and all that. But then I literally say, okay, what can I do to bring a smile to Valerie's face? What can I do to make her feel loved? What can I do to make her feel affirmed? What can I do to make her feel safe? What can I go through these things? And
And to
then,
take off of her plate. I remember something about, I think, a
yeah,
grocery store or something, an errand or
yes,
something that just
yes,
would have made the day a little
yes,
bit lighter.
yes. You know what? I'm glad you brought it up because this is something that we both, and one of the things that we kind of discussed was what were some of our issues, right? And both of us have independence, ultra independence, right? Where meaning like, okay, if I'm sick, it's something like that. I'm so used to just doing and going to the grocery store, or going to the store, or going to Walgreens and taking care of myself that, and that was started, much when I was younger. So being able, and I was saying, so we talked about our issues as well. So we were very upfront with all of that.
So
And so,
things you may be offended by or
no,
wants and needs. No?
what's that? What's that now? I'm
Did
sorry.
you guys, when you say you talked about those things, like is it things that you need or want our relationship, or that you would be offended by if it wasn't part of the relationship?
No, it was just through the course of conversation, we were just kind of like,
Okay.
well, what were some of our issues? Because I mean, granted, we are two healthy people, but we're also two naturally flawed people as well too. And no matter how healed that we may be, we still may have areas of times when our issues may come up, right? And so we talked about that, and I was like, wow, it was so similar how our issues were, and I was like, wow, I can relate to that so much, right? So a lot of times, like, if she does it to me and I do it to her. So say for instance, if like she's washed clothes, right? And then if I know she's had a flustered time and she's feeling flustered, I'm like, baby, now I'll take care of it. She'll be like, no, she'll be like, oh, I got this, I got that, I got this. And I'll just be looking at her like this.
Because she's so used to carrying the weight on that
Correct.
it's difficult to get used to somebody being there who wants
correct,
to and is open
correct.
to helping.
And it's the same thing with me too. And she'll give me that look as well. She'll give me that look as well too. Like if I'm sick or something like that, she will remind me. She was like, "You're trying to steal my."
I tell him not to steal my joy.
And I just be like, "Oh, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am."
So you guys, how sure are you that this is it? Scale of
I'm
1 to 10, 10
one
being the highest.
1,000% sure. 1,000,
Oh, yeah.
1,000%. This is the first person who I ever truly thought about marriage with, seeing life with, going to counseling to grow in that area with. And when you see somebody that's like Valerie, people like her don't come across every day.
I
So
remember you saying to me that, and I've heard this quite a bit
yep,
through just looking at videos and having conversations from men, that I just genuinely want someone with a good heart, like a good person. And that's interesting to hear so many men saying that. And I'm not, ladies, I'm not saying that we're not. I think we might be so broken and bitter and basing this now man
mm-hmm,
on that past man, bringing
mm-hmm,
that pain, because sometimes you could bring your stuff into a whole new relationship. So it was interesting that you said that, like, she is just and I think you said that um kind, she's kind, she's
yep,
giving, not just to me, you said,
yep,
but to everyone.
yep,
So you
yep,
were looking at that. You was not just looking at how she treats you, but how does she interact with the world, with the stranger,
yep,
with people, with in the grocery store,
yep,
passing.
yep.
Often that can tell you how genuine a person is, because you can't keep that turned on all the time if it's
That's
not
right.
just in you. We had a
That's right.
question: are they married? So no, they're not married yet.
Not yet. And Miss Tammy, I wanted to piggyback on something that you said, a few notes that you made. But when you said, how sure are we?
Yeah.
Like Nick, very sure. I always tell him, don't wait too long, because I will get down on these knees and propose to you, sir. But what you were
Oh my goodness.
saying about a year ago, 2 years, 3 years ago, would you guys have been in a place to receive each other? And I tell Nick that, like, from one thing I appreciate about feeling safe with him is that I have the space to be honest and not feel judged. So I've shared some things with him that, like, some of the closest people in my life don't know about, because of how I perceive they might, think, feel, look at me, judge, whatever. But I feel so safe with him, that is not an issue. But I also told Nick that I will help you in a second if you give me a moment. I also told Nick that the Valerie from a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago would have overlooked him. I wouldn't have been in a place to receive him because of the level of growth or lack thereof, So how you say, don't discount the journey and the growth that we have established, because it took me going through those moments to get here, to be so clear, to be so sure, to be so in tune with myself. Discernment has been something I have been, just asking God for over these past several years, especially with being a mother and leading this little person and guiding him in the way that God would have me, because I know that Lennox is well equipped with everything that he needs. It's just my job as his mother to help him along this journey, but not for me to mold him into what I think he should be, because God has already taken care of that. But it's for me to pray for that discernment so that I can be a good leader and having a good counterpart for that. And one of the main things Nick told me, one of the main things I love about him, amongst other things, is that his importance with our relationship was first. And he's just like, I eventually look forward to growing with Lennox, which I love that he was so intentional with that, because Lennox is like my most prized possession. And I'm still waiting on a personal proposal. Yes. You gonna propose to me on this show, babe?
Cynthia, you are starting something.
Hey, I'm gonna get down with a ring pop. I got you.
But I love
that. You updated, Cynthia. I'm gonna keep you updated on this one. We're gonna be watching them.
We can be friends. You can come to the wedding.
All right, cuz come on.
But I love that his focus was us first. He didn't rush to jump into Lennox's life, nor did I rush to say, oh, meet my son, because I wanted to be sure. Like, yes, at the forefront, I saw a good person, but, this is my whole everything. So I'm like, me making sure, you can never be too sure. But then when we started getting serious, he says, I want Lennox to see you being loved in a proper manner, in a healthy way, So he's holding my hand. He's opening and closing my doors, giving me massages, putting my slippers at the shower, turning on the heater, giving me a massage, asking what can he pray for me today. When we were still friends, and I would never feel comfortable doing this with somebody else, but asking me, what do you need? I know that you meal prep on Sundays. Do you need your groceries? I gave him my list. He drove from Franklin and dropped off the groceries and just said, like, okay, like if you need anything, let me know. So I think just me being where I am now in my personal journey, the sense of self-love, self-worth, self-value, self-care that I give to myself, my relationship with God, and totally depending on him and letting him guide and lead my life, and knowing that I am not mistaken, that like this, I always say to Nick, like, where did you come from? But I know where he came from. He is a gift from God, and God,
they are, I'm sorry, but they are on, Cynthia is on Nick, baby.
That is fine.
But just a lot of sureties in this relationship. And when we think about what God wants for our lives, he wants us to prosper, to flourish, to have an expected end. Everything that is sure and that is right, it comes from God. So that's how I know I don't have to doubt this relationship. And for people who say like, oh, well, give it this amount of time, everybody has their own thing, but like you said, you can't take the new man and take that past mentality and those jaded things and that hurt into a new situation because it is bound to fail. And Nick and I were talking about this when
you
people
can't judge the time either. Like you mentioned the time, because look how many people wait a year or two and they last 6 months or a year, or they stay together and they are just miserable.
And
Yep.
And the children are seeing that.
Yeah.
So we cannot judge it by the time.
And not having those conversations. Like the first date, you know, we talked about, like you said, marriage. We talked about children. We talked about spirituality. He asked me, what would 35-year-old Valerie say to 25-year-old Valerie?
Yeah.
We talked about love languages. We talked about family. We talked about, you know, healthy dynamics, traumas, and just counseling. You know, a lot of things he brought to me. You know, how would you feel about going to counseling? I'm like, wow, I think that's a great idea. So the fact that we both have a safe space to just be who we are genuinely, and it blows my mind. But when I think about all of the good things that God wants for me, and I know that I'm deserving of those things. So we see so many great things happening for people around us, and we're genuinely happy for them. But you know, there are those moments where you're like, well, when is it going to happen for me? But just continuing to have faith and continuing to hold your head up and know who you are and whose you are. But I just love everything about what we're creating, and the healthy dynamic that I'm setting for my son. You know, he already told me that, you know, oh, mommy, I love you. But he sees Nick give me a kiss, so he wants to give me a kiss. He sees us holding hands, so he's getting to see that healthy dynamic. We talk about his feelings and emotions. We both take the time, and Nick is so just generous with who he is, you know, and also like, is this okay? You know, that I do this. Oh, just, you know, are you comfortable giving me a second to talk to Lennox? And I know that like he's going to be a part of my life, so he's going to be a part of Lennox's life. So just the rooting that we're setting, the foundation that we're setting, I'm just like, this is what a healthy relationship looks like. Like I tell him that like this is healthy, and we just have such a great appreciation for each other. And you know, I've always had people tell me like, whenever that guy comes along, he's going to have to be an amazing guy because you are a certain level of woman. So when I told my dad about Nick, he's just like, Val, I'm so excited. Like, I can't wait to meet him. I know that he's a great man. And you deserve nothing less. You know, I talked to some of my best friends and my closest friends from college, from childhood. And they're just like, yeah, I mean, months ago, my friend is getting married in October in New Orleans, and my co-teacher. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to be, I was talking about her wedding like it was our wedding. I'm like, oh, we're planning this and that. She's like, girl, you never know. You could fall in love by then and meet somebody. And I wasn't a negative Nancy, but I just, and I didn't know Nick at this point. I didn't know he existed, but he just fell out of the sky. And long story short, Nick will be my +1 in October to this wedding. And Miss Cynthia, I've said this to Nick, I am expecting a ring before this year is up. So we'll see. I'll keep you in the loop. But just like Nick, he is constantly telling me how much he appreciates me, he loves me, he values me. And I definitely feel that new relationship energy, but nothing about what we have cultivated and who we are is going to die down, because this is innate. You know, like we don't fake being kind and being genuine people. And my sense of love and self-worth and everything that I've done to get here, I'm not going to just let that be in vain and just fall off. So we're going to continue to expound upon this thing. So
here's what I want to do. So we're going to wind it down. It is what, February. Would you guys agree to come back with an update, whatever that is?
Yes.
It is February. Let's say May The
Yes.
first Tuesday in May.
I'm down.
We
I'm
want to
down.
hear where you are, what you're
Yep.
doing, any challenges, conflicts. How do you get over them? Because this can be the platform. Because new relationship energy should get great, should get
Yep.
better. Because, like I said, the more you care about someone and you become one,
Yep.
the more you should want for them, the more safety you should want to be there, making their day lighter. We should not be doing more for the people at work or giving them more grace, or the people on the street, than you're giving the person at home or
Yep.
that person you want to do life with. You
Yep.
just should not. You just
Yep.
should not. But we've been equipped to think that way. And the
Yep.
best way to know who you want, what you want, how you want it, is to be. Ask yourself, what are your intentions for the week? Pray for yourself. Become that person of love for yourself, so that when someone shows up to give it to you, hey, you're just adding on to me. You're just pouring into my cup,
Yep.
because my cup already runneth over. That's
Yep.
how it needs to be. You guys agree to come back, journal, keep notes, so that you guys can keep us updated. This is something that, write it down. Like, we need to share this on the show when we return. I
Yep.
want you guys to come back, and I
Yes.
am holding you both accountable
Yep.
to this relationship.
Yes.
Valerie, if you need me to come down there,
We got you. Come on down. You're on the
I
price is
will.
right. Yes. Yes. And so,
Hey, hey, we kick the door in together.
yes. Yes. And I'll say this in closing. I think, you know, when I think about Valerie and I think about just how I think about my journey, and man, I wake up every day so blessed. I wake up so appreciative. And when you realize your journey and realize where you are in that place and space and where you are, you're gonna appreciate it every day. You're gonna savor it every day. It's a certain thing that you're just gonna be innately in tune with every day, because you're going to know the road that it took to get here. And when you realize the road that it's taken to get here, and when you get to that place, you're gonna appreciate it. Just it's her our appreciation to each other. It's about as it is literally normal, like the way that we yin and yang from each other. And like I said, I even if we had a disagreement, it would be one of those where we would talk just like this. And I even told her when we talked about boundaries, I told Valerie around, like, I'm not a person who yells, so I'm not a yeller. So I was very clear. She wants me to answer her question on. I will get to that. I'll get to your question in just a second. I promise I will. But yes, just really just how appreciative I am every day, like every day. And so now back to Cynthia's question, because I saw her question. So I will say this. I will try to give a very condensed but short answer. It's simple but complex in the same as well too. It's literally around what two people agree on. If two people, I'm assuming that you're saying two people who are very much in tune with themselves and all that. I will just say, generally speaking, that when you are sharing space with somebody,
What question are you answering?
how long do you think as a man should wait before he proposes?
We just want a one word answer to that, right, Cynthia?
Easily, I would say if you're
1 to 3 words.
a year, easy.
Okay.
A year, and that's because when you're dealing with somebody on a everyday basis, and you see them on an everyday basis, and you're seeing things and stuff like that, when you're really clear within yourself, I always go back and say, when you're really clear within yourself, then it's much easier, and someone else is clear within themselves too, it's much easier to journey through life with two people who are very clear about what it is. Once you're clear about what it is, it don't take long.
You know what? I'm gonna say this. She said a year is good. So you have her, look, you have her approval. She said a year
I
is
think
good.
that's why she asked me. I think that's why she asked me.
Yeah. You guys, I really believe the sooner the better. And this
Yeah.
is once you know that, I mean, know that you know that you know. You can never just be too sure, but you can know. And the reason I say this is because the longer you wait, the more things happen.
Yep.
And I think the more things happen, the more reasons you can talk yourself out of this is maybe why we shouldn't. This is maybe why we shouldn't. I did something really interesting. I was sick for all of last week. I was sick. Name of it, Mad at First Sight. It was truly interesting, and I'm not a reality type of person to watch stuff like that, but it was really interesting to see the relationship of marriage unfold right away. Like you're meeting the person and you're diving into who they are, but the first thing is that both people showed up because they want to be in a relationship. Then they had an opportunity to not just talk with that person, but talk with family members about who this person is. So it's reality TV, but it should be reality in life.
Yep.
Like there should be someone that Nick can sit down and talk. Oh, Valerie's back. I'm sorry. We lost her there for a minute. That she can sit down and say, just get an idea or just be around them. So
Yep.
I agree. I don't think it should.
Uh-oh, did she freeze?
On. Maybe we've gone over our time. So you guys, let's wrap it up. Words that you'd like to share.
Babe, you can go first.
Um, well, Miss Tammy, I definitely appreciate you inviting us on your show. Nick he speaks very highly of you. And I'm looking forward to meeting you. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to everything that will unfold this journey for us. Of just being with somebody that I can grow with, I feel safe with. Looking forward to everything that's to come. Like, I always joke, like, let's get married tomorrow. But, the healthy dynamic of what it'll be in a year from now. So whenever that happens, I just know that, like, this is my person. So it
Yeah.
happens 6 months from now, a year from now, like, honestly and truly, like, I'm in no rush, like I am good and I feel secure. And I'm just so thankful for life and just the journey of
The
life,
journey. Yeah.
the journey of life. Yeah. And everything that it has afforded me thus far. The ups, the downs, the in between, the rocky moments, because they all helped to bring me to this very point, to attract everything that I currently have. And I feel so wealthy in relationships and just in my faith and being a woman, being a mother. And I told Nick, I always thought about being a wife and a mother, but being with you really, I look at what the logistics and what the dynamic of that looks like. And we talk about the healthy dynamics. He's asked me what makes me feel loved, what makes me feel unloved. So just a lot of thought-provoking questions. And he's always asking me these things and challenging me mentally and intellectually. We challenge each other physically. Like, I am into health and fitness, and so is he. So we just bring different aspects to make for a well-rounded relationship. And I'm so thankful to find a counterpart where I feel like this is never going to get old. We're never going to have those moments where it's just like, oh, this is going to die down. Like, new relationship energy, the whole relationship, like I always tell him we're going to be those 60 and 70-year-old, that couple that's just like, oh my goodness. And I'm so just humbled and just grateful for God's love and mercy and his grace and how he's showing his favor on my life with these blessings that are just continuing to overflow. And, you know, I'm going to be celebrating 36 years of life next week. And with every year, I'm so thankful, but this will definitely be a special birthday for me. Ironically enough, it's on Valentine's Day. So Nick is planning all of these things, and it could be February 13th, it could be February 15th, and I would still feel just as special. But I just feel so thankful to have found my person. You know, I joke with Nick and I'm like, you could line up a whole room of the finest men in the world, and I only have eyes for you. And we also talk about, you know, the aspects of those physical attributes and how they will die. But a person's character, their morals, their values, a lot of those internal things, you know, having those are what really make a person attractive.
Yeah.
So I'm just,
I love this man.
Yeah, I love this man so much. And I'm excited to just build a future with him, continue to get to know him and grow with him, pray with him. I mean, we pray when we go out to eat, we pray at night. I mean, I can just throw this in there now and we can talk about it in May, but we have decided that we're waiting until marriage to have sex. So talking about intimacy.
Wait. You wait, say that again. It froze up.
Oh, I said we're waiting until we've decided that we're waiting until marriage to have sex. So we have just been discussing intimacy on different levels, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And it's already strengthening our relationship so much.
Even more reason to go ahead and propose, Nick. Even more reason.
Yeah.
So, you guys, so I guess Cynthia wanted to know, do you live together? And no, they don't.
We don't.
That's the
and
plan.
The sweat hasn't dried. So
Yeah.
isn't that cool? The sweat hasn't dried.
Yes,
right?
that's
so cool. I wanted to ask that question, but I thought I should have asked you off air. Was that okay? So glad you brought it up. So something's happening. We keep getting disconnected. So let's go ahead. I want to thank you guys and May. And if we need to do that sooner, if April needs to be April, but I at least want to get you guys back.
Yes.
Month or two, come back, or as often as you would like to update us on the levels of that new relationship energy, because it can happen. The relationship new I truly believe that. I believe that it takes two intentional people who want a relationship. And that kind of relationship, this kind of relationship, once you know what you want and who you want it with, what's the hang up?
Yeah.
What is the hang up? You do life together. 1 + 1 in this dynamic is the only time I will say 1 + 1 = 1.
Yeah.
One whole person equals one whole relationship.
Yeah.
No half people showing up here. So, thank you, Cynthia. You asked some great questions. You hung in there with us. She says she's coming to the wedding.
You're definitely coming to the wedding.
So she can come here, and then because we're just talking like it's already happening. You come here, and then we'll drive wherever it is.
It's happening. We just, figuring out.
I'm just planning for her to come and all that and go. So, Nick, did you?
No, I think I echo everything Valerie said. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. It was beautiful. She says she enjoyed, and may God continue to bless you guys. And yes, she's coming.
Amen.
She will come. I think she will get on the road and go anywhere. But thank you, guys. I love what I see. I love what I heard. I'm going to put you guys in my war room on my wall, because I want this to be a relationship that glorifies God.
Mm-hmm. You have a war room? You've seen the movie War Room?
I have a war room. I have a whole war room.
We're going to have a talk.
I have a whole. Do you have one?
I lightly have one, but I saw the movie War Room several times, and it is so powerful.
When I tell you, it's one of the best things that you guys, if you don't have a war room, it can be a closet that you, and I did, like I was like that. I was throwing things. I made a whole closet initially. Now I have a little room that I had built just for that. And it's not big, but I have these circles on the walls of people that I pray for and things like that. But I just love it. So yeah, you and I got to talk.
Yes.
It's real. The air in there is so different. I'm telling you, it's just so different because that's where all the war and prayer goes. So thank you guys. You guys have a great night. I'm going to go ahead and get off before we lose connection again. Thanks to everyone who listened. Nick, Valerie, we love you both. I'm
Thank
rooting for you. Nick, if you need some help planning that day, that time,
Yeah,
let
you
me
know, I
know.
already know. I already know. I
Okay.
already know.
Okay.
I
It's
already
got to
know.
be so
Like 10
surprised though.
steps ahead. So when he says that, I believe him 100%.
Yeah.
Okay. Good deal. Love you. Bless y'all. Okay.
Thank you. Have a
All
great
right.
night. Thank you so much.